100 words per minute for 10 minutes. 5 seconds more. Start. Urbanization refers to the population shift from rural to urban areas and the ways in which each society adapts to the change. It is predominantly the process by which towns and cities are formed and become larger as more people begin living and working in central areas. Living in a city can provide opportunities of proximity, diversity, and marketplace competition. As against this, there may be alienation issues, stress, increased cost of living, and negative social aspects that result from mass marginalization. Suburbanization, which is happening in the cities of the largest developing countries, may be regarded as an attempt to balance these negative aspects of urban life while still allowing access to the large extent of shared resources. In cities, money, services, wealth, and opportunities are centralized. Many rural inhabitants come to the city to seek their fortune and alter their social position. Businesses which provide jobs and exchange capital are more concentrated in urban areas. Whether the source is trade or tourism, it is also through the ports or banking systems commonly located in cities that foreign money flows into a country. Particularly in the developing world, conflict over land rights due to the effects of globalization has led to less politically powerful groups such as farmer losing or forfeiting their land, resulting in obligatory migration into cities. Cities offer a larger variety of services, including specialist services not found in rural areas. These services require workers, resulting in more numerous and varied job opportunities. Elderly people may be forced to move to cities where there are doctors and hospitals that can cater for their health needs. Varied and high quality educational opportunities are another factor in urban migration, as well as the opportunity to join, develop, and seek out social communities. Urbanization also creates opportunities for women that are not available in rural areas. This creates a gender related transformation where women are engaged in paid employment and have access to education. This may cause fertility to decline. However, women are sometimes still at a disadvantage due to their unequal position in the labor market, their inability to secure assets independently from male relatives, and exposure to violence. As cities develop, effects can include a dramatic increase and change in costs, often pricing the local working class out of the market, including such functionaries as employees of the local municipalities. The drive for rapid urban growth and efficiency can lead to less equitable urban development. Think tanks such as the Overseas Development Institute have proposed policies that encourage labor intensive growth as a means of absorbing the influx of low skilled and unskilled labor. One problem these migrant workers are involved with is the growth of slums. In many cases, the rural, urban, low skilled or unskilled migrant workers attracted by economic opportunities in urban areas cannot find a job and afford housing in cities and have to dwell in slums. Urban problems, along with infrastructure developments, are also fueling suburbanization trends in developing nations, though the trend for core cities in said nations tend to continue to become even denser. Urbanization is often viewed as a negative trend, but there are positives in the reduction of expenses in commuting and transportation, while improving opportunities for jobs, education, housing, and transportation. Living in cities permits individuals and families to take advantage of the opportunities of proximity and diversity. While cities have a greater variety of markets and goods than rural areas, infrastructure congestion, monopolization, high overhead costs, and the inconvenience of cross town trips frequently combine to make marketplace competition harsher in cities than in rural areas. In many developing countries where economies are growing, the growth is often erratic and based on a small number of industries. For young people in these countries, barriers exist such as lack of access to financial services and business advisory services, difficulty in obtaining credit to start a business, and lack of entrepreneurial skills in order for them to access opportunities in these industries. Investment in human capital so that young people have access to quality education and infrastructure to enable access to educational facilities is imperative to overcoming economic barriers. In the developing world, urbanization does not translate into a significant increase in life expectancy. Rapid urbanization has led to increased mortality from non-communicable diseases associated with lifestyle, including cancer and heart disease. Differences in mortality from contagious diseases vary depending on the particular disease and location. Urban health levels are on average better in comparison to rural areas. However, residents in poor urban areas such as slums and informal settlements suffer disproportionately from disease, injury, premature death, and the combination of ill health and poverty entrenches disadvantage over time. Many of the urban poor have difficulty accessing health services due to their inability to pay for them, so they resort to less qualified and unregulated providers. While urbanization is associated with improvements in public hygiene, sanitation, and access to healthcare, it also entails changes in occupational, dietary, and exercise patterns. It can have mixed effects on health patterns, alleviating some problems and accentuating others. For instance, in children, urbanization is associated with a lower risk of undernutrition but a higher risk of overweight. Overall, body mass index and cholesterol levels increase sharply with national income and the degree of urbanization. Agriculturists have studied the effects on health of urbanization and globalization. Fast food is often the food of choice, which is causing a decline in health. Easier access to non-traditional foods may lead to less healthy dietary patterns. In India, the prevalence of diabetes in urban areas appears to be more than twice as high as in rural areas. In general, major risk factors for chronic diseases are more prevalent in urban environments. Different forms of urbanization can be classified depending on the style of architecture and planning methods as well as historic growth of areas. In cities of the developed world, urbanization traditionally exhibited a concentration of human activities and settlements around the downtown area, the so-called in-migration. In-migration refers to migration from former colonies and similar places. The fact that many immigrants settle in impoverished city centers led to the notion of the peripheralization of the core, which simply describes that people who used to be at the periphery of the former empires now live right in the center.